Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is Descent into Avernus, Road Warriors of Hell, and this is part let's try that again. And this is Damnation Part 2, the second part of our two-part introduction to this campaign premiere episode, starting 2 weeks from today on October 4th. This game will be every other Tuesday at the same time, 8:30 p.m. here on twitch.tv/mini-terrain-domain. And in just a couple of moments, I'm going to turn it over to our Dungeon Master, Vi, who will get us back into the adventure. A couple of quick announcements. If you missed our first part, you can head over to youtube.com/mini-terrain-domain and check out our VOD, which is up there, as well as VODs of all of our other games on MTD and previous campaigns and all that good stuff. They're all over there for you to check out. If you look up above my head here, you will see right here, we've got some soul coins. Those are the domain dice for our Avernus campaign. These soul coins are a way that you, the viewers, can have an impact on our game simply by subscribing, gifting subs, resubbing, cheering 500 bits, tipping $5. Those all of those things earn us soul coins that we, the players, can use for advantage to reroll, or even make our Dungeon Master reroll, though that costs us 5 coins to do so. So we can only do that with your help. Let's see. One other thing, a couple other things I wanted to mention real quick is this Saturday, I will be DMing a special charity one-shot. Featuring some players from the second campaign arc of Dreadful Tales from fortnerd.com. Dwight and I were both a part of that over on fortnerd.com throughout most of this year. And this is going to be a charity benefiting Jesse's Journey, which is raising money for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, something that Gary over at Fortnerd is very passionate about. And as his friends, we are also passionate about it. But a change from what we announced last night on our previous game is that stream is going to be right here on Mini Terrain Domain at 4 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. So we hope to see you there. There's a very special donation incentive that if we can raise $1,000, Gary will come on stream and will wax his mustache live for everyone's benefit. So we are going to have a lot of fun for a couple hours playing D&D and raising money for a great cause that happens to include making Gary wax his mustache live. The other thing I want to mention, of course, before we get into this, the last two things, I guess. One is that you matter. Your presence here on this earth makes a difference. Whether or not you believe that, it is true. We all struggle. You might be struggling for whatever reason. First off, that's okay. It is okay to not be okay. But you do not need to struggle alone. At any point, you can come into our chat, and just as Tamiko has done, you can type !help, and a couple of URLs will pop up, including findahelpline.com or takethis.org's list of resources. We encourage you to go to those websites, bookmark them, save them for yourself or save them for a friend, and remember, you matter. The last thing that I want to mention is that our Descent into Avernus campaign features adults using adult language, and is a little bit more for mature audiences potentially. So if that's something you're a little worried about, feel free to go check out one of the numerous other streams that are taking place around the internet. Just keep that in mind. The other thing is that all of us here have cooperatively agreed to what our lines and veils are. We are in open communication about that, and we have safety tools in place to keep ourselves safe here at the table. And we encourage you to do so in your own games, whether they're on stream or your own private home games. So with that, I think it's time to play some Dungeons and Dragons, and to do so, I will turn it over to Vi.
Thank you, Jake. Let's get into it then. Elturel has fallen. It was the eve of the 50th vigil of the Companion, a festival celebrating 50 years of that bright beacon in the sky. It has turned dark and turned into a luminous orb of crackling lightning and swallowing darkness. Chaos has devoured the streets of Elturel. Brimstone, fire, seismic shakes, smog and ash and soot and smoke. Elturel has fallen. You, among many other survivors, refugees now, have scrambled your way from various parts of the city to its top, its peak, its pinnacle, the High Hall of Torm. It stands as the last bastion of a fortress within the walls of Elturel. The devils crawl the streets and take to the wing, soaring above in the skies. You've made it here, Hill. You've made it here at last. And as if all of you have now rested a moment here in the High Hall of Torm, you can get a sense of your surroundings, your bearings. Here in the cathedral, whatever refugees have come here have barricaded themselves in. They've braced up pews and other furniture up against doors and walls and windows to bar them shut. What once were magnificent marble walls and ceilings and painted glass windows are now shattered and soot covered and already bearing the signs of wear. The people here are shaken. They are disturbed. They are terrified, in shock. As you look around, you can be able to actually see each other for the first time. This is the first time any of you have really met here in the chaos of Elturel, with the exception of Eric and Zoe, who met on their escape from the festival square. At the center of this area, of this refugee cathedral area, you notice a few people that seem to be in charge, so to speak. They're commanding authority, helping out. You can definitely tell that they are the ones that are holding some kind of resistance. There are three of them. An old, wizened veteran of a knight, one that Eric would remember campaigning with back in the youthful days. All of you would know this man. He is the High Knight, Ulder Ravengard. He seems to be in what amounts to whatever kind of authority here. He seems to be getting grips on the situation, barking orders at whoever can hold a sword to capture wings of the cathedral, of this high hall, to secure it and find supplies to bring them back. You can see the supplies gathered, crates of stuff and foodstuffs and fabrics and anything that is useful. Anything that isn't useful has been gathered here into a giant warehouse that is one of the wings of this high hall. As well as you can see his protege helping out, a younger Hell Rider, one that some of you may recognize as Rhea Mantlemorn. And the last one is a quite shook acolyte. And by looking around, you can tell this is the only acolyte of Torm here that has survived the onslaught so far. Some of you may recognize her as Sister Feria Jinx. She is mumbling, rocking in the fetal position, kind of seated on one of the raised daises, clutching something close at her chest, a big, thick tome that looks older than all of you combined. She's muttering, "Recall the creed, recall the creed, recall the creed," as she's rocking back and forth. As you can tell that the other survivors are asking of her to fix their wounds and burns, lacerations, and she'll be able to. She'll mutter prayers, and with her hand, a soft glow will heal their wounds. Nothing much, but enough to keep them from too much pain. But in this time here, you'll be able to gather yourselves and meet each other for the first time as you see and spy each other across the room, across this great grand hall. All of you kind of stand out to each other. And we will go with Zoe and Eric. You can go up first here. What do the two of you do? How do you react? What do you want to do here in this high hall as you hear the commotion and fire and war and death happening, muted outside, far from these walls?
Are you all right?
I'm as okay as I'll ever be, I guess. I think I should tend to the sister, though. She seems to be having a rough time.
Glancing over and seeing this. Yes. I just wanted to make sure you're doing all right. That was quite a shit show for even a veteran.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
I don't claim to know who you are or where you come from. That is not something anybody should have to witness on a good day, let alone whatever's happening out there.
You're not wrong. I mean, it was pretty bad out there, wasn't it?
Yes. As I kind of shift and kind of hold at my side where there's probably still quite a bit of blood on my shirt and across the tabard where this thing, this demon creature bit me and swallowed me. Not to mention I've got holes in my jacket and clothing and even skin from the acids that were inside this thing.
Oh, can I fix that for you?
For just a moment, I look like I want to just say yes, and then I just hold my hand out. There are others that may need whatever help you can offer more.
Well, if you need it, please let me know. And Zoe will trot off to the sister and try to crouch down in front of her and calm her down.
Recall the creed, recall the creed, recall the creed. She looks up as you approach. Oh, hello, sister. I'm so glad you survived.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was the only one.
You haven't seen anyone else?
None others of our sisterhood, no.
Well, I will look for them when I can. Do you need help with anyone here?
They as it stands, I think we're good. But if any more come in injured, I'm afraid I'm at my limit here.
Well, I can stay here and help if you need. I do have a friend that I believe needs help, but he doesn't want to take it right now. So
you can always pass out water to those. It's important to stay hydrated when you're in shock. She rocks back and forth.
Yes, it is. And she will, if there's like a crate with water or things like that, she will start with her first, giving her some water, and then she'll go around and start.
No, please. The ones who need it.
You need it too, sister. You are,
Make a persuasion roll, please.
I believe, if I remember this correctly, let me look at this really quick. Okay. Persuasion check. Let's roll this. Oop. That is a natural 20 for a 23.
Nice. A great use of a natural 20. You saved this woman's life.
Yes.
She realizes that she actually is quite thirsty and will take the cup of water that you have for her and greedily drink it back, and water dribbles from her chin and moistens the vestments that she wears. And thanks. I didn't realize how much I needed that. I can think clearer already. Oh, I got this. I panicked and I thought to save something, and so I saved this. I realize in hindsight I should have gotten other things than this, but this is the Tome of the Creed Ab Resolute. It has everyone's name. I thought it's one of our holy artifacts here in El Terrell.
Mm-hmm.
The other, I don't. I could have gotten more useful things, I think, than a book.
Listen, it's okay. We will do what we can for now.
We turn then to you, Eric. What are you doing now as Zoe leaves you behind?
As Zoe walks away, I've sort of tucking my shirt back in around the wounds and just wincing a little bit, but looking around at the state of the refugees here and seeing what I saw out on the streets of El Terrell, I'm doing okay, relatively speaking. I imagine I had, while the few minutes that we were sitting there, I had also pulled my sword out to clean off any viscera from the demon that I slayed. Sort of give it one last wipe down, sheath it, and I'm actually going to head over to High Knight Oldar. What was his name? I wrote it down.
Ravengard.
Ravengard. Yeah. It looked like Razquad. I can't read my writing. Ravengard. So I will head over to High Knight Ravengard.
As you wipe off that like black slime off of your sword, soiling your cloth, you walk over intent on the High Knight Ravengard. A hand reaches out and grabs you as you walk by. You look down and you see a face quite familiar. Sallow, pale skin, golden, luminous hair, covered in kind of blood and dirt and a bit of scars and burn wounds. Her clothing a bit tattered. Oh my God, Eric, you made it. She grabs your arm. You recognize this is your sister, Ava.
For a split second, as somebody grabs hold of me, there's the instinctive turning toward them, just starting to cock back a fist, and seeing her, I immediately look around. What are you doing here?
As soon as it turned night, and the darkness, and I came to find you. I'm so glad you're safe, you're alive. She goes in for the hug. Something feels a little bit off about this, Eric. Probably because of your relationship with your sister. Do you have proficiency in religion?
I do not.
You would know that your sister has never set foot into any holy ground, no matter how sheltered from the sun or the companion sun it might be. Yet here she is, plain as day, I say, and as a matter of speech. She's here just fine in this hallowed hall of Torm.
As that realization crosses my mind, along with the fact that I'm immediately, as she goes in for the hug, as she hugs me, I'm looking around, one, see if anybody's seeing, two, just absolutely worried that she's here, three, realizing, wait, how in the nine hells are you here?
Yeah.
And also as that thought crosses my mind, realizing the poignancy to that precise thought.
So first would be relief. No one seems to notice much about her. Everyone's a bit too worried about their own to really care about this person. And when you go in for that hug, you can feel her cold skin betraying her nature.
I'm relieved. I'm relieved that you are well, but if you had stayed outside the city, you would not have to fear for your safety.
I was hoping to enjoy some of the festivities, even from a hidden vantage. I do this every year. I sneak into Elturel every year. You don't have to keep getting upset at me for this.
Every year I warn you that you risk exposing yourself and me.
I think we have bigger problems now, she says with a kind of a laugh.
That is an understatement. I was just going to talk to High Knight Ravengard.
When you pull out from her hug, you see like the blood stains on like her clothing has like splotched onto you as well, in kind of the same spots. And she looks down. Don't worry, it's not mine.
Some of it's probably mine. Ignoring her, the obvious implication of what she said. How are you here? And I just sort of indicate as if to say here in this place.
I think whatever banishes me to the dark places has no power here anymore. I used to be adverse to these places, this high hall, this consecrated lands of Elturel. Now I walk unfaltered. It is like anything holy is gone.
I'm sure that gives you some degree of relief. That does not bode well for our situation. Stay out of sight. Be careful.
Have you seen the things out there? Of course you have, that took a bite out of you. Listen, I can fight just as well as anyone. I don't need to hide anymore. Give me a sword, give me an axe. I will save people. I will protect people. Look at how few there are already. Warriors here. We need every pair of hands we can.
Can I request something?
Mm-hmm.
This is not the request to make the DM make a roll, but can she try to persuade me?
Yes, absolutely. Let me just get her stat block up. She gets an 18 on her persuasion.
I rolled a 10. Overcome with probably just the absolute relief that she is okay. There there's truth to her words. I can see it. I know what she's capable of. And I know that I say to her, you may be right. Given what's going on, there are bigger things we need to worry about. If you can keep yourself reined in, then perhaps here. And I hand her one of my hand axes.
She grips it. I've survived long enough on livestock. I'm sure I'm fine.
We need to talk to the High Knight. Don't go far.
And as you turn to go to High Knight Ulder Ravengard, we'll go then to you, Aeolian. You're in the company of Lady Yael Winwarren. As you come bursting in through into the high hall, you can see the site that's been described beforehand. These refugees, and Lady Yael is breathing heavily, thankfully, being quite thankful of arriving here, safe and intact.
Before even looking around, my attention's on Lady Yael. Are you okay, my lady? I think we'll be okay here for now. And I'm kind of not even waiting for her to look. I'm just kind of looking around, making sure that the door's secure. We've and if she doesn't respond, or doesn't say anything, I'll just check over, make sure she's okay, and then I will just kind of lead further into the room. Pardon me, does anyone know what is happening?
Either of you, Hephzibah or Jacob, do either of you answer that question in any fashion?
Let me clarify. Yes, I know there are demons flying and killing. Does anyone know why? No? Wonderful.
The wizard's tower is completely gone.
And then Henrietta from behind you. And those are devils, not demons.
It's right. You're right, of course. I do apologize. I should know better. It's just I'm really struggling to kind of capture myself, calm myself down, let my words or find the words that I want. I turn back to Lady Yael. Do you know what's going on? How did you know how to fight?
It's beyond me. It's as if there was just an extra part of my hand. She kind of like holds the sword and just elegantly. I carry this for self-defense, but I've never had to use it.
Do I look at the sword? Do I see anything about it that looks different?
It looks like a simple dueling sword that a noble might carry around.
Okay.
Mostly for show rather than for practice.
Well, fantastic.
A sign of wealth. Yeah.
Have you had chance to fight before?
Not in my knowledge, no.
Intriguing.
Beyond the squabbling of my youth, that was eons ago.
Well, you handled yourself fantastically, my lady. I'm quite shocked, actually, at how well you did. I don't think I would be here if it were not for you. So I thank you.
I'm going to go upstairs to get a breather. It's
very well.
You can stay here?
Yeah, I'll stay here. I just kind of start wandering around, just looking. just nodding at people if they look up, but not actively trying to speak with anyone quite yet. So
Yeah, you'll notice Eric Helios walking towards High Knight Ulda Ravengard at the kind of a center area of this hall. He seems to be commanding the most authority, that High Knight. As well as you can see the other player characters amongst like many other refugees and their companions that they brought with them.
I will walk over towards where Eric is approaching the knight, but I'm going to stay back. I just want to be able to hear if anything happens. If I walk by Jacob, I kind of like double take, like, but then like quickly move on, like catch myself and keep on walking.
Jacob is definitely heading his way towards the High Knight as well. As soon as he would have seen him in this place, that's where he would have gone. Not sure if he would have seen the double take Yolian would have just done there, because to him, you're just another refugee in this place. So he's probably not focused on you at this moment, but he is definitely looking towards the High Commander and now Eric.
And so it seems like all these people have now kind of congregated to the center area. Hephzibah, you're with Henrietta, as you had curried a favor with an imp to dimension door into this place. You've entered in through the back, not through the main doors, and thankfully it is so chaotic in here with the refugees that no one has noticed your arcane entrance into this place.
Yeah, Hephzibah's probably, because she's looked around, she hasn't really seen any wizards that she recognizes, and she's a little freaked out that all of her mentors and professors and everybody seems to have disappeared. But she does notice Eric's here, and so she starts sort of following him as someone she recognizes, someone who might have a clue of what's going on. And she's sort of dragging Henrietta behind her still.
As all of you begin to congregate around this High Knight Ulda Ravengard, he's not really paying attention to you at the moment. He seems to be busy with discussing some kind of plans with some of these other lesser warriors. Kind of pulled out a big piece of parchment on a table, and he's like, kind of saying, okay, well, they have secured this wing, but this one should be able to be open, and if we get here, we can go down these streets and get access to these storehouses. And kind of like muttering this kind of tactician mumbo jumbo. But then here's the approach of all of you, and hello there. I am High Knight Ulda Ravengard. I am the last bastion of any kind of authority in this place. It's good to see a face that is not twisted and malformed with devilish features.
Hephzibah kind of draws back at that, tiefling, kind of got the devilish features going on. And because she's just heard that her grandfather may have made some sort of deal with an imp, she's definitely not exactly pushing her heritage right now.
From where in the city do you come from? Do you have anything to report? Anything you saw? We have a situation here, to say the least. He's saying this in general to the five of you.
The wizard's tower, it's gone. Like there's a hole where it was.
They saw this coming, then abandoned us in our time of need, or to save their hides. Makes sense.
It looks more like
wizards are cowards.
Uh-huh.
Pardon me. Those wizards are cowards. He corrects himself, seeing the two of you, little apprentice wizards.
It looks almost like it was swallowed, actually, and not like it was taken away.
I know if they've been a flighty sort. Full of self-preservation. Would serve them well here. And the rest of you?
What do we do? I we, do we
You don't
stay
seem like
here?
civilians. You seem more competent than the rest. I need every able body I can to secure the perimeter, and collect survivors, collect
want us
supplies.
To go back
gain
out
ground.
in that?
Maybe I overestimated you then.
Afraid to get a little dirty. Zoe says as she comes up with water for everyone.
Well, no, it's just not what I typically have done. Aren't there more of you around somewhere?
Count us. That is how many we are, beyond the small handful of folks that I've sent out. Bless them to brave the streets of Elturel.
My face just kind of just sinks.
You did an important thing. He puts a hand on your chest, on your shoulder, Aeolian. I saw you in the escort of Lady Yael. Preserving our town's nobility is important. Helps keep the peace, helps keep the order.
Yes. It seemed the right thing to do to get you here. Yes, I apologize. How can I help?
Did you see anything on your way here? Where did you come from?
Lots of things, so many things. I was singing and the crowd was cheering and I will describe the scene kind of as the devils just kind of swarmed over everything. And I'll spend a moment just kind of describing the different, physically describing the devils that we fought off on our way over, and how we were on the bridge when did it sink or rose? I can't remember.
Broke
what it was,
apart.
but broke apart. But yeah,
Shattered.
and that we were. But yeah, I'll take a few minutes to describe what that whole journey.
By the companion, we've lost to South Torm Bridge. That's going to make things difficult for both them and us. They have wings, though.
Listen,
Those devils.
Why is no one talking about the most obvious thing?
My God, what? Doesn't that hurt your voice?
They were Hell Riders, and then they weren't. Why is no one mentioning this?
Not all of them.
And she's staring
gestures.
at Eric, kind of.
Ravengard will gesture to himself and to Rhea, who hasn't really said anything at this point, and the other small retinue of like 5 other Hell Riders. You can tell, not all of them.
Well, exactly, but why any of them?
I know that I am the only High Knight to survive. All the others either dead or transformed into devils themselves. Hell Riders, a similar fate.
So what makes you special?
I don't know.
Like this entire time that Jacob is talking, I am staring at them just with a look of horror, and I'm like holding my throat. Just
one thing I do know is if any one of us were to die, instead we would transform into a devil as well, even against our will.
You know this for a fact.
I've seen it before my very eyes. Some of my men cut down. They do not dissolve and dissipate like the civilians do. Instead, they rise back up from the dead, skin turning red and purples, and horns and barbs coming from their heads and backs. Their voices becoming drones, as if repeating something they do not believe in. taking up arms against their own brethren. They had to cut them down even still. There was a look of pain in their eyes, as if they were marionettes rather than full beings.
Perhaps that is the case, High Knight, with the ones that were turned on their death. But just before the transformation and hell literally broke loose, some of the Hell Riders were acting suspicious.
I knew of that as well.
There was something, this was planned.
Yes. There are traitors in our midst, but thankfully they've revealed themselves. How they spread themselves enshadowed throughout our ranks, I dread to understand why and how. But the case is simple. If they were to betray us, they have shown their hand. We can tell at a glance the betrayers. For now, they have a devilish nature.
Well, I too was out there and saw firsthand what happened, and the bar.
And you are a Hell Rider, no, and you have not turned.
This is true.
My story is true for you.
Then I shall ward myself against death all the more. But I can tell you, the bard painted an eloquent picture and spoke truth to the chaos that was out there.
It's like many other reports. But losing that bridge will make connecting our two city halves very difficult. We can almost abandon all hope of getting any kind of supplies on the east half of El Terrell.
Why would they want Elturel?
That I do not know.
It's almost like a game to them. I spoke with one.
You spoke
He taunted
with
us.
one.
It was like, yes,
The words that leave the devil's lips are of no tongue I've ever heard.
it was common. It was, everyone could understand it.
I've spoken with the young. I've spoken with the young Sister Feria here. She understands that they speak Infernal.
Well, this one must have learned something somehow. Anyway, the point is I'm trying to make here is that it was a game to him.
A game. This one delighted in the torture, then.
It did.
Must have been one of the betrayers, then.
Not exactly surprising for what they are, though.
I imagine many of the devilish nature of this place has captured their minds, if they were willing or unwilling. Nonetheless.
Has anyone seen the High Observer?
Vanished. I have seen no trace of High Observer Thavius Krieg.
Of course.
Before or after this happened.
All day.
Of course. Of course.
I scowl, mostly scowling at Jacob. I don't say anything outwardly, but every time Jacob speaks, addressing the High Knight, I have this scowl, this look of disdain. More so, I look like that meme of Clint Eastwood, scowling at the kids on his lawn, basically. And finally, I just say to the High Knight, well, you said you need people. I look over to Aeolian, who had expressed concern moments ago. I can lead this group. Or whoever will go.
Good, then I have a task for you.
No,
I'll go.
that was quick.
Listen, I've been at your side many times. You've been a faithful soldier. Then until here the very end. Kind of clasps you with a gauntleted hand in some kind of machismo, soldieristic way.
When he does that, I just say, the creed resolute is for life.
It is. And you are my brother. And then there's like some kind of like chest pump or something.
If you're going out, can you at least let me help you out a little bit? I mean, I'll come
Very
too,
well.
but
Very well.
thank you. And she is going to cast Cure Wounds on Eric.
You would see, despite my effort to probably to attempt to hide it, you would see an obvious sign of relief at the healing magic.
I will go as well. I will follow your lead, and I look at Eric. And watching Zoe heal Eric, I kind of realize that I'm been injured a good bit, and I just kind of mutter something under my breath, and I'll cast Healing Word on myself as well.
I too will go. This man,
And he kind of points, not to points, but kind of indicates Eric.
he may not remember me, but I remember him, and he has always been a good man. I will follow him, and the fact that he has not transformed means I can trust him.
Finally, then, older Ravengard turns to you, Hephzibah, and turns to Henrietta. Henrietta kind of backs off. I've had enough for today. I just need to. I can't do that. I can't.
I'll go. I've worked with Master Eric before.
Henrietta turns to like grab you. What are you doing?
This is what I've trained for. You stay here, you heal these people, you cast your healing stuff, and I'm gonna go out there and try and help defend the city.
Okay. I can do that. Very good. The High Knight Ravengard speaks up again. Your task here is, and before he can finish the sentence, Aeolian and the rest of you will hear coming from up some spiral stairs. Aeolian, dear, you have to come see this. It is Lady Yale shouting down from the upper stairs, from upstairs.
Yes, be right there. And I'll look to Eric. I'll be right back, and I will turn and hurry up the stairs.
And as you depart, Ravengard will finish his sentence. What I need the 5 of you to do. We have detected a place of hallowing that remains here within this high hall. Within is the wrong word. Sister Feria has divined it. It's a cupula no longer attached to the high hall. It has within it a great holy artifact, somehow survived. If you can find that, collect it, retrieve it, and return it here. Simple enough. And then, Aeolian, you've darted away, running up the stairs. You see Lady Yale standing on a balcony overlooking the entire city. And you see the entire city around you. It is just on fire, destroyed, rubbled, in ruins. It's literally like at like some kind of concave angle from itself, like collapsing in on itself, as if the companion sun, now black, is like absorbing it in, like a black hole. But that's not what she's looking at. She's looking at the horizon. In a distance, you see a great sandstorm plume, a great front. It seems to be coming towards you ever so slowly. But the source of this sandstorm is not some freak of nature of this supernatural realm you're in. No, it is a vast legion. At its head, great war machines of just of hellish metal, taller than buildings you've ever seen. And at their head is a great fiery angel leading this crusade. This crusade coming directly for Elturel. With every passing moment, this angel of fire, as well as this legion of war machines and devil soldiers and devil legions, advances closer and closer to Elturel.
I look at this, and then I look at Lady Yael, and I look back at the angel, and then back at Lady Yael. If we survive this, it's going to make one hell of a song. And I will turn and start running back downstairs, just yelling. Hey. And I think I kind of like come to a screech at the bottom of the stairs. And I'm sand, things. It's bad.
Complete sentences, Bard.
All right, so there's a giant dust storm, but it's not a dust storm. It's giant machines. At the front of the giant machines is an angel, and we're fucked.
I look right at the High Knight. This, if nothing else, just looking to see if this means anything to him.
This reinforcement's coming. The devil send more now. Whatever this is some kind of coordinated effort between the traitors, the betrayers within our own ranks, and whatever lord of this realm is. We don't have much time. By the way you described it, by the end of the night, they will be here.
Then we have no time to waste. I'm sorry, did he say specifically where we needed to go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I apologize. I missed that.
Yeah.
I had a
He'll
technical
repeat it with urgency now. If we have any hope of evacuating this place, of making a stand, we need the help of Torm himself. There's nothing consecrated in this place any longer, except for that single cupola that holds an artifact within it. You can see it for yourself if you climb up this tower. And that is my task for the 5 of you. Now go.
All right, so we're supposed to look for this cupola from the tower here at Torm. If I understand that correctly. All right. Then as he says that, as he says, all right, go, I look around at these 4 individuals that I'm are now to some degree my charges. And I wait just a moment and then immediately sort of snap to attention, hand on my sword. What are you waiting for? We've got a job to do. Let's go.
I'm waiting for you. I told you I would follow you, so
let's go.
Would Zoe know where this is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, it's in one of three places
Mhm.
because there's three cupolas here in the High Hall of Torm. They kind of form these small towers on the cliff face overlooking down the Tor of El Terrell. So they would be on the southern part of the High Hall.
Okay. Zoe hears about all this and watches Eric get everybody hyped up to go, and she's like, I know where we gotta go.
Good. Then you can lead the way. Now hold on.
Perfect.
All of us have seen what happened out there on the streets of El Terrell. Even though we are here in the High Hall, we can't assume safety. I don't know what all of your skills are, but if you have weapons, keep them at the ready. If you have magic, have that at the ready as well. Keep your eyes open, your ears open. More importantly, let's watch each other's backs. Lead the way.
And Zoe will pull out her shield and her mace, and she'll start, still just like the happiest skip in her step, and she's leading everybody.
And as the five of you leave, your sister Ava will have somehow found you as you're leaving. I'm coming with you, she says. Hand axe at the ready.
I hesitate for a moment, wanting to protest, then realizing that any protestation could draw more attention, if nothing else. Very well. Stay near me and stay behind me.
And so Zoe, you lead your companions up some stairs. It's the same stairs that Aeolian and Lady Yale were on top. And you come up and you see that Lady Yale here is still kind of transfixed at this balcony site, almost like hypnotized by the vista. At least you notice this, Aeolian. I don't know if the others of you really know Lady Yale too much to know her habits like this. But she'll snap out of it as you kind of approach. What is going on?
They've asked me to help with a task to find a thing. I will be back. It's going to help.
I'm coming with them.
Do you think that is wise?
I think it's going to save your life if I come with you. She
I'm
gestures
good
to her
with that.
sword.
I can vouch for her fighting prowess.
So then, Zoe, you lead them across some overhangs and across some bridges before you realize, coming to a skittering stop, the cupola that you're looking for is no longer attached to the High Hall. The bridge itself that connects these two things is gone. It's been shattered. And you can see it hanging suspended in midair, floating 40 feet away, about 25 feet up, floating of its own accord as if it was flying, floating, not attached to anything at all. You can see that it's a tiny little tower. The bottom bit has been smashed apart, but there it stands intact and whole, just floating outside of your ability to walk up to it. The drop down, you see probably over 500 feet down. Almost 600 here from this vantage.
Are you sure it's that one?
Yeah, Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Um, hmm. Can 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 everybody make like a little path here? It's kind of little wall, maybe of people. I don't know how to explain it. I need like a little runway.
What are you planning to do?
You'll see. Um, we'll see if you allow this, Vi. Being a satyr, she has 35 feet of movement. Plus, she can roll a d8 and add that to the number of feet she can jump.
So using Pythagorean
Okay.
theorem, you require 47 feet of a jump distance, of a long
She'd
jump,
get close. She'd be
to
4
be able
feet
to, like,
off.
to be able to grab it.
She'd be 4 feet off. Okay.
And jump distance isn't equal to movement distance either, is it?
That's
No.
true.
Let's see, it's
Based
what,
on your
long
strength
jump,
score,
that'll be.
I believe.
That I think
So
you're
if
right.
you have a running long jump, a number of feet up to your strength score.
Okay.
So you can. It's
So,
that's
like,
assuming
at
that you
most
have a
I could
running
get.
one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. My brain didn't work. She'd still probably ask everybody to like move so she can try and assess the situation.
Is there anything we could? Is there anything that we could tie a rope to anywhere nearby?
Oh, absolutely. There's bits of
Okay.
what do you call it? Like rails and railings you can like tie a rope to that are.
And what about wooden? Is there any wood like doors or posts or anything like that on the
I was
other
gonna
side?
say,
Ooh, there's going to be a wooden door that is the entrance to that cupola. Yeah.
I'm going to search inside of my bag, and I have rope. I'm going to tie off one section of rope and find a section. I'm going to tie it to the arrow, get it tied real tight, and then tie it to something, anchor it. And I'm going to try and shoot my arrow at the door to see if we can get it to anchor in the doorway on the other side.
All right. Make that range
Hepzibah
attack roll.
will be helping with Mage Hand to make sure that it goes where it's supposed to go. She can't reach all the way with Mage Hand, but she can do 30 feet. So
All right, roll that attack with advantage then, as Hepzibah telekinetically helps out using Mage Hand.
22.
Nice. The arrow flies true and sticks deeply and securely into the wooden door on the other side of this great chasm, over 600 feet of a drop. The rope is tight. There's only 3 feet of slack total for this 50-foot rope on this 47-foot distance. So it's almost a tight rope, not quite.
I'm going to pull on it a little bit to see if there's any movement or if it just stays taut.
It's taut. It's secure.
Okay, so it's not the other side is not moving with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Though with the amount of give you have, you suspect that you probably couldn't hold more than one person.
Okay. I look around. I don't know what size everybody else is, but does anyone want to volunteer to crawl across? I suppose I can try.
We're all going to need to go across, I'm sure.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of small.
I'm smaller, so I would probably one of us should probably go to.
I'm the most nimble of us all, Ava says. And you kind of understand what she means by that.
She is.
I can make her way across and I can brace it.
She is quick.
I have another rope if that would help, if she carries it over.
I can do that, yeah.
Yes, that would help.
She'll grab the rope. And she has the spider climb ability, which means that when she crawls and climbs upside down on this rope, there's almost like there's almost no weight put upon it. It's not like a slow, methodical one. It's just hands over feet, just scuttling, like a zippity zip fast creature.
As she does this,
she holds the rope in her mouth.
I'm going to go to where Aeolian tied the rope off to basically act as, even though it's tied off, sort of act as belay. But I'm also, as I'm holding onto this rope, I'm slightly trying to move it so it looks like she's putting a little more weight on this rope than she is.
She swiftly makes it to the other side, almost just in a moment. She's able to move dash across easily. She drops herself down, looks around, finds like a marble stone outcropping. She can just like tie the other side of the rope to give you guys like a foot rest and like an arm rest to kind of shimmy across. And then she kind of checks the arrow in the door, and it's firm, but she'll still hold it anyways to have herself as the anchor. She shouts, though it's hard to hear her over like the sound of all the tumultuous weather. You come across now?
I look at Jacob. You go. Secure the area over there while the others come across.
Yes, sir.
As he falls back into his training.
All right. To make your way across this tightrope chasm, athletics or acrobatics check, please.
I will do acrobatics.
Ooh, I have an idea. Before you go, let me just double check and make sure I actually have this.
I can cast guidance.
I am
That's
going
really
to
good, yes. Mhm.
I am going to tie my rope around Jacob and then anchor that rope on this end. That way, if you fall, you won't fall too far.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. So we'll do this. Acrobatics, you say.
Or athletics.
I
And
am
add a d4 from the guidance of Zoe.
okay. I'm doing this for the very first time in here, and I haven't rolled a d4, but that's a 25 plus a d4.
All right, you are able to make it across the incline, holding onto the rope. You make it across. Ava grabs you by the arm to help pull you up onto the platform, where there's definitely enough footing. This is kind of like an outcropping that you can all stand on here without worry.
I give a little
Like the
tug
other
on,
half of the bridge.
I give a little tug on the rope.
Yeah, I untie the one that's bound to me so he can pull it back. Meanwhile, at this point, I am going to pull out my bow, get it ready, and kind of look at the area, the sky around us, make sure we're not going to get caught. I'm going to
Make a
keep it
perception.
lookout.
Actually, no, don't even make a perception roll. Immediately, as you kind of get your bow ready, something bursts out from the stained glass window on the far side of the cupola. It is a great, massive creature. It is bone white, like the skin is bone white in color, with skin drawn over long bones, almost like insectile in shape, with the shape of their wings as well, with a kind of a barbed stinger. They don't seem to be paying any attention to you and just flies off into the distance away.
It just left the cupola that we're going to? Ah,
I look at Ava to see if she saw it too.
She'll see it as it kind of flies overhead. So it's overhead if you want to launch an arrow.
How
But
big was it? Because I think I might just let it go.
I think it's a large-sized creature. I'm gonna.
and is
just
it
quickly-
carrying anything?
Doesn't
Yeah,
seem to
that's
be
a good
carrying
question.
anything. No. Instead, you can roll the perception check. Yes, it's a large creature.
Okay, that might change what I'm going to do. I think I might
Mhm.
actually head inside then instead of stand out here. A 21 on the perception.
You notice that part of its body, like the whole left side, seems to be like singed with like, and still kind of in a flame. Was not like regular flame, but like holy flame.
I turn to Ava.
You wait out here. I'm going to go check inside, make sure there's not any more of those.
I wouldn't want to open that door. It's It's our brace. I don't know if it has enough room to open.
I'm going to go to the window where it came out of.
You want
Oh,
to see me
can I
across that
get there?
kind of- you'd have to like Assassin's Creed your way around the circular temple with like half a foot of foot room. It is possible. Definitely not an easy task.
Can't tell how much is Karen and how much is Jacob, considering that.
Yeah, a little bit of both. How close can I get to the window before it's too narrow of a place where I'm going to be like,
Oh, so it's kind of like like as soon as you step off of this kind of bridge platform, like you're already dealing with like a small narrow thing. You'd have to go like a whole 40 feet around on the small narrow strip. So you can't get far.
is this going to be this platform that we're
you
on going to be
see-
able to fit 5 of us or 6 of us now?
Mhm. Yeah, it's like a chunk of bridge. So what you do notice that there is another stained glass window that is not shattered open, that is kind of like closer on this side. It would make about like maybe 5 feet of balancing, but also need to be shattered from the outside to get in. Plus, do you really want to shatter a holy places window?
I do not want to shatter a window, but I do want to see if I can get maybe a little closer because I want to see if I could hear if there's any more inside.
Yeah, you can make a perception roll with disadvantage, I think.
Okay, how do you disadvantage? Roll. Oh, that's pretty bad. 11.
It's silent in there. Beyond the crackling of flames, it's silent.
Okay, I'm going to at this point go back to what I was doing and guard the air around the people who are now going to be crossing.
All right, who crosses the chasm next?
As I reel the last of the rope in, I look over to Aeolian, who seemed eager to go across pretty quickly.
Yep, I will grab the rope and tie it around my waist and hop up and scurry across. You said acrobatics or athletics, right?
Yep, your choice. Yeah.
Going with acrobatics, that is a 21.
Nice. You're able to make it across without issue. And then Ava will help you step down off of the ropes, and you're quite satisfied to be standing on a solid stone once again. Who's next?
Pull the rope back in, look at Hepzibah and Zoe.
I think Hepzibah will go next. And I'm going to do acrobatics as well. And that is a 19 plus a d4.
Nice. That is enough. As you make it across, Lady Yale then steps forward. I'll go next. And she will glide across effortlessly with an elven grace to her footsteps. And then it's just the two of you, Eric and Zoe.
Go. So I hand the end of the rope to Zoe.
Fine. You better be careful on your way over.
When you get over there, tie that end of the rope off.
Okay. And she will get up and make her way over. I will roll because I have the same in both, so I'll just roll athletics. I got a 21 plus a d4.
Nice.
So
Nice. You are also able to make it across smoothly. Now it's just you, Eric, alone on this side of the bridge.
So
it's instant tying that rope off the moment she gets over.
then I will, once she's tied it, I will untie my end, tie it around my waist, and clamber up on the railing and start. Well, what am I doing? Hanging in my mind, I was like, I'm going to start tight roping this. I'm going to kind of sloth underneath it and start crawling. So that will be a natural 1 with a +5. With the D4, that's also a 1. So that's a total of 7. I
That is
think
a
I think it's obvious that I am favoring a leg. So a lot of my weight is on one leg, and even though I was healed up, I'm probably still a little tight from that demon wound, and I don't know at what point, but I'll kind of hand it over to you, where whatever happens.
Your leg, it's slipping. Ava says, no. As you begin to plummet off of your balance.
Hepzibah reaches her hands out, kind of like she's catching something midair, and you sort of see a transparent blue net kind of thing slow his fall. He still falls the full length of the thing, but he doesn't take any hurt.
So you'll descend 50 feet as the rope ends up catching you. It would have been an abrupt catch, probably like breaking a rib from your fall, but through the feather fall, you land gently now, almost like landing on a soft mattress as your body hangs by the rope.
Just sort of spinning against the rope at the end of it.
I would have immediately, as soon as he started to fall, run to the rope that's tied off. And when it comes to a kind of a stop, he's dangling there, I'll try to start hefting him up. I'm not the strongest person, but I want to try.
I was gonna say Zoe was gonna do the exact same thing, so maybe like Jacob starts and like Zoe just puts her arms around Jacob.
Whoever has the higher of the two strength scores can roll a strength check with advantage between the two of you.
I have a +2.
Oh, you go for it. I am a +1.
You said advantage.
Yeah, from the help. Yeah.
Oh, that is a natural 20.
Nice. Perfect. You're able to pull up hand over hand, the two of you. Eric now joins you at the top as you pull him up, saved from the cavernous fall.
I'm a little surprised to see the satyr doing most of the heavy lifting on this, but gladly kind of pull myself up and just thank you.
Light on your feet as always.
I just kind of give Jacob that scowl again, but I don't say anything because he's not wrong.
So before you is the remains of a circular tower of this temple. You're standing on the broken bit of a bridge that would have connected in the past this tower to the high hall behind you. The wooden door in front of you is sealed closed with an arrow with a rope plunged deep into it. The door itself is not locked in it or barred in any significant way. Just a hefty push can pull this heavy door open.
Hepzibah's gonna push it and go in.
Inside, you see a circular room of worship of an altar at its center. There is sitting almost like illuminated by a spotlight coming from not sure where. This holy little shaft of light is an ornate looking helm. It has emeralds and opals and rubies along the brow ridge of this helm. And this long sloping jaw braces that come down this with the bit in the center. It looks like it's glowing here, as if this is the thing that commands attention. And then immediately you look down and see that there's like a ring around it that still is kind of like the remains of yellow and golden fire flickering in like an equidistant circle around it. And those of you with religion proficiencies could see that there's some kind of holy barrier protecting this artifact. As well as the person that has the highest passive perception will notice a small object smoldering, still intact somehow, at the edge of the ring, at the edge of the ring in the floor, right beneath where the broken, shattered stained glass window is. And that is going to be Zoe, I would notice that. The small smoldering object.
As Zoe enters this cupola, she's going to bow her head and mutter a prayer. And for a brief moment, she looks a little heartbroken to see this. And when she notices this little flickering whatever is there, she is slipping past her companions and moving towards it to figure out what it is.
You know, you would recognize this artifact. You probably definitely witnessed it in maybe one moment. You're like, oh, I got the opportunity to see it. This is the Helm of Torm's Sight, a powerful artifact, a legendary item that this church, this cathedral possesses. But you go over to find this smoldering object. It looks to be like a detached finger, but not like any kind of humanoid finger. It's long, probably like as long as your forearm, this finger. It ends in a long talon. It is kind of charred black in the sections where the white flame is still dancing on it. But the sections that aren't are this like mummified, like almost pure white color. This would be the same color as that creature that just flew out. But it seems intact, almost like preserved somehow by the instant conflagration of holy fire. As you can hang on to this devil's finger if you wish.
Oh yeah, she'll pick it up.
Yeah,
She
you
might
can add
even
a-
give it to Hepzibah.
You can add a sanctified devil's finger to your inventory, whoever takes it.
Hepzibah will take it, sure.
I was gonna say she'll give it to Hepzibah because she doesn't know what to do with the finger.
As you look back, Eric, you'd notice that Ava is not entering this room. She's hanging out on the bridge still. If you lock eyes with her, she'll say, "I can't enter this place."
As she's saying that, I talk over her and say, "Wait outside."
Do I hear Ava's
I'm
to
not-
say that?
Oh, do you hear Ava?
You have a passive perception of 17. Absolutely, you hear it.
I won't make any notion as if I did hear it, but it's put in the knowledge is there now. Thank you.
So you would know, Zoe, through your knowledge of this place, and probably, I don't know, Eric, you said you don't have a religion proficiency. So yeah, Zoe, you'd know that this object has been sanctified. This place is a hallowed ground. Your experiences with it, and also the obvious thing, the sigil on the ground. Whoever, imagine this thing is guarded by some kind of holy magic, and you feel like only those who are not willing, are worthy, can even go close to grab it or touch it or wield it, this object. And anyone who isn't, or you suspect that there's some kind of obvious conflagration of holy flame that happens when someone who isn't of those qualities tries to claim this object.
Zoe is going to say another prayer before she attempts to try and go past the barrier.
You hesitantly take a step across that circle in the ground, the circle that's been scorched into the marble floor. You wince You can hear the clop of your hoof on the other side of it. You are not blasted to smithereens like you thought you might have been, as you are intact on the inside with no adverse effects.
Okay, then she will approach the helm and look at it for a moment before the moment her hands go on it, her eyes close and she starts muttering the creed. And as she finishes the creed and finishes a small prayer, she lifts it.
And as you lift it, you can see that the helm itself is reshaping to be able to accommodate your head, as there's there's like the part in the forehead that would have a lower visor kind of opens up to accommodate your horns. And it kind of shifts and molds to kind of shrinks a bit to fit your head as well as you lift it up, as it just fluidly moves underneath your fingertips.
Her eyes get a little big, but she doesn't put it on right now. She's gonna leave the barrier first.
And you're able to do so without any adverse effects as well, as you carry this now shaped to your head helm of Torm's sight.
Okay. Well, I think we got it, guys. Good job.
I look around and I'm actually going to walk over and look out the broken window. That seemed almost too easy.
I don't think they could get in here.
It seems ridiculous, though, that all of us came here for this.
Well, I did find a finger. It's kind of gnarly.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Well,
And thank you.
I think given what
You're
we've been
welcome.
through, the numbers are probably best.
yeah, I'm more concerned now when we leave this place. We are taking this reliquary out from the holy protections.
I agree with you, Eric. They're obviously after it. They couldn't get it here, but
Mm-hmm.
So
now
you
they'll
better
be
put
able
that
to.
on. You better put it on so that you can take advantage of whatever holy magic or whatever is in it.
Oh my. Okay. And you can see there's this nervousness there before she very slowly and carefully places it on her head. She almost feels wrong doing it, but she does it because she doesn't want to lose it.
And so, Zoe, as you put this helm upon your head, the world grows dark as it covers your eyesight in a sheen of shadow. The rest of you will see her collapse, but not like smack. Almost just like crumple down into a seated, somehow managing to end up in a meditative pose through sheer luck or divine intervention. But as she begins to mutter words, almost like speaking in tongues, Jacob, you have a dancing eye, one that catches sight of things that perhaps others would miss. You notice that there is a side room to this temple. When you know to be, or when you can educatedly guess, imagine is the steward of this place, where they would rest and have their quarters. The door is ajar, and you see something that catches your eye. A strange-looking book upon the desk that you can see through the crack of the door in its ajar state.
I think I'll take the distraction of Zoe putting the helm on her head and falling to the ground to make my way to that door.
And you would find the book. It is titled Gideon's Testament, and it is long and written in scrawls of 3 overlapping motifs. And I imagine as we're about to cut to break, basically, I'm going to go ahead and describe what the both of you notice in these 2 moments. Zoe, we go to you. You see a vision come to you. This is Torm's sight given to your mind. There's a kind of inky darkness, a nauseous veil of swirling shadows. Then a beam of golden light. This light slowly grows in intensity, and the shadows are ripped apart like a caul parting before your eyes. At the point where the light is almost blinding, it turns reddish and becomes hot, dry and hot, a dry, hot wind. As your vision clears, you're standing in a field of battle beneath the blood-red sky of Avernus. A huge mound of devils lies dead. Other devils, still living, are hauling bodies off the mound, chittering amongst themselves. All the way at the bottom of the mound, as one last corpse is pinioned on a pitchfork and flung to one side, the body of an angel is revealed. Her skin is porcelain white, her hair the golden light of an evening sun, her wings blood-stained ivory. The devils draw back. Some of them are cackling, but then one glances back over their shoulder and suddenly drops prostrate to the ground. Others too, following the first gaze, throws themselves to the ground. A tall devil with skin of maroon and crimson, dressed in robes of black and gold, strides in amongst the scattered corpses. He is possessed of a Leonid beauty with 2 almost impossibly long, dark horns curving gracefully from his forehead. The devil's eyes smolder as he looks down at the angel, as he pulls off a gauntlet, like a glove from his left hand. Revealing the talons beneath, he turns and asks, in a smooth voice of elegance and grace, "Where is her sword?" The call of gilded night sweeps over your vision. The vision shifts. You're standing at attention in some sort of ceremonial uniform in a small group of similarly dressed knights. Each has a small badge on their left shoulder, depicting a pair of twin suns. Before you, on a grassy field, are arrayed 2 riders wearing identical badges. A woman with dark hair upon a black charger, a bearded man on a white horse, and the angel you saw lying beneath the mound of corpses, hovering midair, silhouetted by the sun. Approaching them across the field is another mounted man, this one flanked by an honor guard. As the man draws near the trio before you, he brings his horse to a stop and then dismounts. The 2 riders do likewise. A herald steps forward and announces, "Haruman, Lord Knight of the Far Hills, greets Lord Elanthius." The bearded man smiles. "Hail to you, Lord Haruman, and welcome to El Turel. I am pleased to introduce you to Lady Yael of Idleglyn and Zariel, Solar of Celestia." Haruman removes his left gauntlet and extends his hand, shaking each of the others in turn. Escorted by Lord Elanthius, he proceeds down the line. In a few moments, he stops before you and extends his hand. The vision shifts again. The red heat of Avernus sweeps over you. So too do the sounds of battle, but only at a distance. There's a trumpeting and the shadows are swept away like a mist in a strong wind, and you see the angel Zariel kneeling in the dust. Lady Yael, arrayed for battle in battered, bloody, and dust-covered armor, kneels on the ground next to her. Zariel is pushing her glowing sword into Lady Yael's hands. Yael speaks. "I refuse. Do not ask me of this." Zariel, smiling sadly. "I must. I do. Look beyond this forsaken day. One last time, I need you to dream a little bigger." Yael weeps, and then, unable to speak, nods, taking Zariel's sword. Zariel pulls off her left gauntlet and grabs Yael's arm, taking a moment to breathe. "My friend, goodbye. Perhaps we shall meet again, but I do not think so. I need you to go. Make certain that my sword is not captured by the forces of hell. Let it become a symbol of everything we have fought for. Even if it has ended in folly, let our deeds have meaning. As the veil formed from shadows of gold wraps itself around you again, slowly blotting out everything except the sword still glowing in Yale's hand, Zariel's voice continues. This is the last thing I will ever ask of you. Protect the sword. The vision shifts again. A hand, or rather a gauntlet, reaches through the shadows and sweeps them away. An immense light, which seems as if it would be blinding in its intensity, but which is instead a soothing comfort to your eyes, emanates from this gauntlet, or perhaps from some point behind this gauntlet. A booming voice emanates seemingly from all directions. Seek ye Zariel's blade. It is the key to her heart and her greatest desire. With it, Elthrel's chains can be severed. The gauntlet clenches into a fist as the voice speaks. Then it opens, and upon the palm of the gauntlet, Yael, limping, covered in blood-stained mithril, carrying the glowing sword wrapped in a bundle. Even from my sight is the sword hidden. There is only one who knows, and she knows not. The gauntlet closes again, then opens to reveal two black-feathered, bird-like humanoids, standing next to a strange vehicle of blackened iron. She must seek the Kenku. In her memory, they speak. The gauntlet closes for a third time. You hear a different voice, speaking as if from a great distance. The booming voice speaks again, but it too seems to come from a distance now, as the other voices grow stronger. Seek the Kenku. The light now truly becomes blinding, and you awaken to the sound of your companions. And Lady Yale, what's going on? Why is she like this? What is she muttering? As you come to. The helmet feels heavy on your head. You're conscious. And that is where we're going to go ahead and cut for a break. And I will go ahead and post the little read aloud that I did in a place where you can all read it at your own leisure as well. Thank you.
All right, we'll be back in about 10 minutes. See you on the other side.
Jacob, you've grabbed this book off of the desk. It is titled Gideon's Testament. This book is a testament written by a man named Gideon Lightward. It is written in about 3 overlapping parts. As you scan through, you can see that this first part describes a series of holy visions sent to him from a divinity beyond divinity. The second part is a series of transcribed dialogues between Gideon and another individual called the Woman in White. In the beginning, it seems as if the woman is a pupil who has come to Gideon for religious guidance. Over time, however, the roles seem to invert. Now it is Gideon who seems to be seeking guidance from her regarding the visions he has been receiving, and eventually deeper questions of metaphysical and philosophical import. The third part of the text is Gideon's own philosophical ruminations upon his own experiences and the conclusions he's drawn. As you kind of flip through the text, you found some important passages that stand out to you. There's the overwhelming theme of the book regarding the evils of demons. The woman, tell me, O master, of what is the greatest evil? Gideon, it is that of the abyss. It is the teamless horde of chaos which seeks to rip down civilization. The woman, and why should civilization be not destroyed? Gideon, civilization is that which gives life meaning. It is the font of morality and thought, of art and science. As well, great praises are heaped upon those divinities which stand stalwart against this demonic threat. It is the gods' place to stand between man and chaos. It is their aegis, which is their ultimate purpose. For behind their shields, we create greatness and dedicate it to their honor. One night, however, Gideon awakens from a strange and formless dream and sees a disturbing vision in his bedchamber. There, I beheld her. Her beauty was so great, it seemed to burn my eyes, and yet through my blindness, I could see her with greater clarity than any other sight that I have ever beheld. 2 great wings of white she had, and a sword of celestial steel, so sharp that I could hear the hum of its edge. A weapon made to cleave the division between soul and mind. But then I saw this essence of perfection cast away her sword. Her wings turned black, her eyes turned to pits of fire, and a great and terrible purpose furrowed her brow. The next day, he speaks with the woman in white, who tells him that she, too, has had a vision of this angelic being, and that its name is Zariel. Gideon, but why should she have turned from the light? The woman, she turned from the light because it blinded her. Gideon, does not the light let us see? The woman, that is the lie of the light. We think only of what it illuminates, but not of what it conceals from us. Gideon realized that the great blindness, the great lie, is that the gods protect man from chaos. But is it not so? Helm, Torm, Tyr, Lathander, none of them battle the abyss. They claim the glory of that war, but shed no blood in it. This is why Zariel turned from heaven. She saw the truth of her holy purpose, the great need to stand against chaos. And she saw that her holy power was powerless because her gods had willed it so. Thus she allied herself with hell, for it is hell who fates chaos. It is hell which sacrifices itself in the blood war, hell which fights eternals that we poor mortals may eke out a few years of freedom upon the mortal plane. Zariel is thus the inordinate exemplar of both sacrifice and service. Gideon has nothing but praise for her, for the choice she made, and for the great work which she does in the service not only for the mortal races, but for the balance of the entire multiverse. Without her, all would become chaos, and those who do not stand with her are servants and abettors of chaos, though they know it not. And as you kind of finish thumbing through this book, you can kind of hear the speaking in tongues that is Zoe muttering words, and the gasp of air as Zoe comes to. I see something more important is at hand now, as you have this book in your hands. Do you pocket it?
I put it in my backpack, yeah.
And Zoe, you've come to. The helm is heavy on your head. It is blinding in your vision, not through some sheer light and shadow, just through the fact that it sits improperly over your forehead, despite it holding your horns so carefully. It almost seems a bit too unwieldy and too heavy for your head now, not the tight, perfect fit it was before.
Yeah, Zoe, when she comes to and you hear that soft gasp come from her, the heaviness of the helm causes her head to kind of fall forward for a minute, and her hands come up and she pulls this helm off. She shakes her head almost like a dog would before she sighs and she goes, that was
New rule. Don't go putting magical or holy relics on your person without consultation. I don't know what just
Who is she
happened.
supposed to consult first?
Maybe an expert, maybe somebody that knows what something of such great value is doing protected in the remnants of a holy tower. I'm just saying, whatever just happened was not normal. Are you okay?
I live here.
So do I.
No, I live here in the temple.
Okay.
I think she's saying she's the closest thing we've got to an expert.
I'm one of the sisters. So I do know a little bit about this. Was I prepared for it? Probably not.
That's my point.
But we didn't want anyone else getting their hands on it until we're able to get it back downstairs. How are we going to get back across?
The same way we came across.
Okay, well, who's going first then this time? Will it be your little friend who was outside?
Are you talking about her? And I indicate Eva. It doesn't matter what order we go in. we're all going across.
I was just curious.
I am responsible for all of you. That is why I am expressing concern at your suddenly placing a holy relic upon your head. If you saw what we all just saw, perhaps you would think it wise to exercise caution.
I don't know, Dad. It seems like she's okay.
um, I'm okay. I greatly appreciate the concern, but you can't have so much caution. Life is so short.
You do realize that we are here
I
because
do.
most of my brothers and sisters in arms turned into devils before our eyes. You saw me swallowed by a
I
grotesque
did.
devil and have to
I
literally fight my way out of it.
Yes,
I
but you
think
look
you
great
can
doing
excuse
it.
me for having a little bit of
back up.
caution.
One of the devils ate you?
It did.
How did they how did their mouths move that? I mean, they're former
came-
Hell Riders, right?
Its head was mostly mouth.
It was. Its head was mostly mouth.
Okay.
It was pretty gross. But yes, I did watch you fight your way out of the thing. And you helped me greatly getting people to the temple. And as I said, I appreciate your concern. I understand that this is difficult for you. I'm not trying to brush off your concern. And I'm not saying I did the right thing either. But as you see, and she holds up the helm,
Now we see that. For 50
think we're gonna be
years, the
okay.
Hell Riders protected El Terrell and were a trusted source of protection of this city. And then they turned into devils, and the city has been torn asunder. You had no way of knowing what would happen when you put that on your head. None of us did.
Except that the High Knight said it was hallowed. Unless do you think he's going to turn?
oh, I don't think he's going to turn. I think we're
That's-
going to be okay there.
Yeah, I think that would have already happened, but you
Yeah.
know, I mean, if that's what you're worried about.
I think he's a little too ornery to turn, and she points to
I realize that aside from the two of us, you don't have the military background that we have. I am attempting to do my job as a Hell Rider of El Terrell and as the leader of this band for however long we are banded together. That is where my concern comes from. That is all. You are fine. You seem to be fine. Please do not take my concern for anything other than what it is. Concern for all of our safety.
I will consult you next time. I apologize.
I drop it at that point.
Is class over? Pops, can we go? And I just kind of look back at the door.
I just motion towards the door and I look to where this helm was sitting in this, the remnants of this place. I don't know if the hallowed protection still exists around this place or what happened with that, but just grasping any last tendril of holiness that might be in this place. Torm, give me strength.
So what actually happened when you put on the helm? Like,
Oh,
and Hepzibah's just sort of leaning over to Zoe while we're waiting for him to get his.
oh, I had a vision. It was strange. I saw her, and she points to Lady Yale. I saw her.
Who, moi?
Yeah, you.
In what fashion?
Bloody fashion.
Oh no! Did you? I'm
Did
not
you see
becoming
her
one of them,
death?
am I?
Oh, no,
It's
no, no,
meant
no,
to
no, no, no,
identify.
no. No, 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 no. You, what's the word I'm looking for? I think you've done this before. But the vision was odd. It stopped and moved in odd places. The last thing that I heard was seek the Kenku. In her memory, they speak. And they were talking about you, I believe.
I mean, I knew of a Kenku once. He was a fabulous poet. He performed one time in my theater. The way he was able to, I don't think that's a Kenku you're talking about.
They just said seek the Kenku. I doubt you know.
What do you mean she's done this before? Done
Oh,
this what?
I saw her in something similar to what we're in now, I think. It was reds and blacks and sand and an angel.
What like
The fiery
was she?
angel. You said her name when you were. You said Sariel, did you not?
Mm-hmm.
I know that name. It's like a dream, that name.
She knew you very
That's
well.
the name of my angel.
Is that what that is?
And all of a sudden she begins to mumble, as if speaking through her own voice, but as if reciting a memory. Farametiel, I am Zariel, Solar of Celestia, she mutters, and then she has a bit of a headache. She clutches at her head as if she's suffering from a migraine. I remember her face.
She was quite beautiful, I will admit. She gave you something. Perhaps do you remember that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Zoe turns and looks at Eric. You happen to know any Kenku?
Do I know any Kenku?
You tell me if you know a Kenku. You can make one up if you want. You've been alive for what, 62 years? You've probably met a Kenku.
I've met Kenku. I'm familiar with them, but I can't say that I know any of their folk of any great import.
Okay. I don't know if you were listening.
She has a headache. There were two of them. Brothers, twins, siblings. I remember them. They were in a desert. A red desert. Like where we are now. She kind of looks over to the horizon, seeing the blasted wasteland. I was dying. I remember my gut was spilt open. Did they help me?
I did not see that part.
She has a terrible migraine. This is all so strange, as if living a life that is not my own.
Oh, well, maybe we should calm down for now. Let's just try and get back. And then you and I can talk about this maybe with Sister Jinx. I mean,
Yeah, let's just get back, get somewhere safe.
exactly. We're kind of out in the open here.
And that thing might bring back friends.
That is not wrong.
Okay, let's go. And she will kind of push ahead, almost robotic, to cross the ropes first. And she'll hesitantly cross the ropes, and she'll kind of stare, very hypnotized by the landscape below her. Not in the same way that someone with vertigo would be staring, but it's someone who's just like enraptured by some kind of memory washing back on them. And then she'll realize that she's been hanging here too long and continue across.
Hepzibah will go next. Just grab the rope tied around
Yep.
her waist. Scooch over.
And so you can all make acrobatics or athletics checks to make your way across.
Add that guidance, buddies.
Oh my gosh.
A reminder that you have 13 domain dice, soul coins, waiting
Yeah.
to be spent.
I remembered that well after I rolled that natural one because I never get to use them.
I was waiting for you to use it. I'm like, oh, he's just saving them for later.
I had 18 on mine.
19.
13.
25 plus a d4. I didn't bother rolling a d4.
I will roll a d4, but I'm the one who failed this time because I got the natural one.
So you can roll that with advantage with a soul coin, or you can re-roll it for 3 soul coins.
I'll do one. I'll roll it with advantage. So that's a little better. With the d4, it'll be a 16.
It's enough to have everyone pass. As you just brace a moment, Zoe, you felt yourself slipping a bit, but perhaps one of your little offhand prayers was heard by something or someone who aided you back onto the path. Someone sinister. You all make it across back to the landing where you came from. You can return the ropes to your packs. You make your way back to the cathedral itself, where the High Knight Uther Raven will be waiting expectantly, seeing your approach. And then you've succeeded them, he announces, noting the helm of Torm that you possess in your possessions here, Zoe.
We did.
There was some sort of nasty white monster that came out of one of the windows as we were approaching it, though.
Perhaps another devil seemed to claim this prize.
He left a finger.
It seems
Hmm.
the helm defends itself.
Then it is intact and good, then. Let us pray to Helm, then, and Torm and Lathander, all of them. That this artifact here can save us. Are you able? He looks down to Sister Faria Jinx. Are you able to wear that helm? Perhaps some augury can be made of it. She looks weary and beat. She probably actually wakes up from a little bit of a nap, just from how tired she is. Yeah. She'll stand up to you and then hold out her hands to take the helm from you.
Zoe looks at Sister Feria, and as she's handing off the helm, she goes, I already put it on.
That must be why it feels so inert then. And you can see that as it passes hands, it doesn't shape itself to her head at all. It seems just like a boring old helm. To put it on. Did Torm speak with you then? Did you?
He
See with his
showed me
eyes?
things. Yes. I believe that's what happened, yes. If we could speak about it, sister, that would be lovely.
Speak it plainly then. High
And
Knight says to you.
she will recount everything that she saw, and she'll do this in front of everybody, so now everybody knows what she saw. And as she finishes, she'll turn to the High Knight and she'll be like, what do you make of that then?
Aeolian, a hand grips your upper arm. It is Lady Yael's hand gripping you tight, almost like to the point of like breaking, not really breaking your bones, but like a firm grip. She says to you, in almost like a flat tone, protect the sword. I have to. I was carrying the sword through hell itself.
Good. And I kind of glanced down. Does she have the sword on her, like her hip that she was wearing earlier, or how is she?
I
Do
was
I
about
see
to
that?
ask.
Look down at the sword. This isn't it. I know it for sure. I know it. I remember how it felt. It was silver and golden and glowing and radiant. It was taller than I was.
Well, where is it then?
Torm said we have to take her to the Kenku so they can tell her what her memories are.
It's out
Mhm.
there somewhere. I know that for sure. She points like in a direction. Outside of
Right.
the walls.
I'd look in the direction. Any other clues? Other than just there?
I saw that angel of fire on the horizon. I must protect the sword. And you said Torm spoke to you. It's the key to her heart and her greatest desire. My Zariel has fallen. We must protect the sword. That is how we sunder Elturel's chains. She seems almost as if she's a different character now than the Lady Yael that you knew for a long time, Aeolian. Instead of a fashionista noble, she's much more of a daring hero now in these moments.
Wait, what does it mean, the chains of Elturel?
The High Knight Ravenguard speaks up. You've not seen them then? The great iron chains that bind Elturel to the ground below.
Can't say that I noticed them. I was busy watching the giant flaming angel coming towards us when I was
Step
up there.
upon the balcony and cast your gaze eastward and southward, and you'll see them.
And she does, and she freaks out a little.
The city of Elturel is being dragged, winched ever downwards into the River Styx. We are in hell. This is the first layer of hell. Avernus. This is damnation.
Okay, so how do we get Lady Yale to out there, wherever, so that we can reclaim those memories of hers? Because it sounds like that's kind of an important thing that we need to do right away.
By the sounds of Torm's vision, the way you've described it, it seems that she'll need to leave the city. Find some way to descend down into the wastes of Avernus. She claims those Kenku are out there somewhere. Maybe muscle memory can guide her to them. It is a perilous place here. I can see it. This place is crawling with devils. No way can Lady Yael here brave the trip alone.
Well, I would not have her go alone. And I'll turn to the other four. I will take her. Will you help?
She is the key to releasing El Terrell from the 9 hells. Then this mission is at the core of my oaths to the city.
So, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
My forefather, Herriman, she said, was fighting with her originally. Maybe I can be as awesome. Hopefully not curse my descendants the same way that, we've been cursed.
Forefather is Harriman. I know that name. Why do I know that name?
Because
I
in
know
the
it so
vision,
well.
you were in the vision.
I see his face.
Yeah. Our family line has been cursed since then, and we've had tieflings in every generation.
He did not make it back. He did not survive the charge.
We always thought that
And she shakes her head. Why do I remember these things? She kind of mutters back to herself.
we always thought that he must have been so annoying to hell that they felt the need to curse further generations of the family just to prevent us from, I don't know what, but
Well, if you will lead us, we will escort you.
I can lead my best. I don't. Maybe it's right. Just follow my heart. Maybe the memories will keep coming back. It's as soon as I've entered this place, as soon as El Terrell has entered this place, it's like I become a different person. Like my memories are not my own, or the memories I had were not really me.
I gesture at the sword that she was fighting with earlier. It's clear something has awakened that you perhaps long forgotten. Perhaps if we leave this place and continue on, as you say, more will come forward.
Find these Kenku saviors. I know they're out there somewhere. I remember seeing them here, there. And we'll get the sword. Very well. If you are reclaiming the sword of Zariel, we will garrison here. We'll hold a defense. We'll have the city survive as long as possible. We'll buy you the time you need. You don't have forever, though. You can feel those jutters, those big shifts in the earth as the great chain winches ever downwards every now and then. It is erratic and sparse. Something's going on beneath. There's been delays, I imagine, on the plans going on here. We can use that to our advantage. In fact, the city's not even overrun yet. And that is good news for you and for us. Go. And when you come back, by Torm, may it save us all. Getting out of this city It's suspended 500 feet in the air. I know of hidden passages beneath the city. It's called the Maze. You know of them, of course, Eric. Where we keep our prisoners in our storehouses for the winters. I know if this city has been upended from the earth, then those tunnels then would lead to the open. Perhaps there you can find a way down to the Avernus wastelands below.
Good as chance as any. I will give the High Knight another one of our like the handshake and salute.
Remember the creed.
Always.
And so he, one of Rhea Mantelmorn gets gestured to guide you to where these, where the maze begins. And I imagine you probably already know where the maze begins. It's a secret entrance at the back of the catacombs of this cathedral. And you enter down into the depths below Elturel. The walls themselves the walls themselves are cramped, dusty, and every now and then the ground lurches from those seismic shakes as you progress down through to the maze itself. There's stairs every now and then carved into the stone to progress deeper and deeper and down. It is, as the title has suggested, a veritable maze in here. The passages are winding. They are crisscrossing. They turn on themselves. There even are points where you feel that the maze here was not hewn at all by human hands. There's that strange, like uneven and smoothness that belies some kind of strange tunneling creature. There are rumors, of course, that a great behemoth lurks below the city of Elturel and was the one that carved the maze itself. But you think of that and then you recall, oh no, we are suspended 500 feet in the air. No way is there something beneath us, at least not anymore. As you continue further and further down, you pass entrances to storehouses that are locked. You hope that these will be recalled and remembered whenever they need to collect more supplies. And perhaps there are people already being sent down as you think of it. You come across a corner and it turns into an open egress where light, as dim as it is here in Avernus, this blue and orange flooding in from the open air. You can see directly out there are the great chains that bind Elturel. It's attached somewhere way above you and attached somewhere way below you, but it kind of dangles here. Maybe a 10-foot leap from the end of this tunnel out would make you be able to grab onto those massive chain links. When I say massive, I mean absolutely massive. These chain links are beyond giant in size. They are, each of the individual chains themselves are made of iron or some other strange metal that is thicker and wider across than 3 of you abreast. And then you see a lurch downwards as another winching occurs and the ground lurches above you. It's kind of tossing some of you to the side.
Hepzibah goes over and looks down.
You realize that was probably a mistake as you see a bit of like stone kind of crumble away from your foot, tumbling down. It's like a 400-foot drop. And you see down, it's closer now, there's less smog. there's a great battlefield below. You can hear the sounds of clashing. Let's hear the sounds of gnashing and gnawing and screaming and yelling and war calls and war cries and great roars, unearthly. Fiends fighting against fiends. The one side is heavily armed and heavily armored and organized into these ranks. And the other side is just a tidal wave of flesh and teeth and bone and unnatural weaponry. You look over to see where it's coming from. There's this giant river that courses directly below you. It is massive in width, water, jet black. You can see chains anchored to various points of these large structures built onto the banks of this river. Almost like a weird version, a weird mockery of what a docks would look like back in the mortal world. And on the other side of this river is a strange yellow-green savanna filled with tall, almost carnivorous trees and gaping ravines. It seems this is where these monstrous creatures are coming from, and they seem to be charging forth from this savanna, wading and swimming through this river, and then emerging onto the other side of the banks where they meet against the weaponry and arsenals of the devils below. And that is where this war is happening, actually 400 feet below you. And you look up and down along the banks, and it's happening literally as far as the eye can see along the bank of the River Styx. An unending war front. Perhaps this was the blood war that Gideon was writing of in that book, you think, Jacob?
Well, this seems to be our only way down.
Do we have a way to get over to that chain and see if we can climb down it?
Right.
I could probably jump it.
You can jump that far?
See, it was 10 feet.
I am certain that I can't. But
Well-
I do have a rope if you want it.
Is there anything on this side to affix a rope to? We're in these tunnels, basically, right? Or what's left of them?
Yeah, it's not even hewn stone. It's like burrowed through stone. It's smooth, but also kind of lumpy in that kind of burrowed way. No human hands, no order or reason was put into these tunnels. There may be like a stalactite or stalagmite, like a shattered ruin of one above your head, where you see like, oh, it probably was like broken off where this massive tunnel was burrowed through. But again, yeah, if you had like some kind of python or something to go clang, clang, clang into the stone, maybe you could get a point to a fix, but not really. It's not really feasible.
You mean these? And we pull some out. I start pulling them out and handing them to Hepzibah and Aelin and Eric.
Secure the rope with this.
Pass you a hammer too.
I'll just try to hammer these pythons into the rock. See if I can secure some rope down.
Yeah, you'd be able to.
Meanwhile, Jacob is getting the rope around his, securing it around his midsection, getting ready for a jump.
Right. Who jumps first?
I'm gonna try.
Right. What is your strength score?
My strength score is 12, but I'd kind of like to
Right.
use my acrobatics as the
Mhm.
jumping off point. Yeah.
Right. You kind of step back, you get that long jump ready, and you leap. And that is sufficient. Your strength score is sufficient to
Oh.
bridge that gap as you kind of grab onto the massive iron. You realize there's no way to like grip around it until you grab and scramble. It's like pitted and rusted, and you're able to grab onto something. It stings. You probably sliced your hand on something, but you're able to get it, and you can pull yourself up on top of one of the chain links, and you can kind of straddle it almost like a horse, and be like braced with the rope to help others across.
Yeah, I think I might actually momentarily take the rope off, wrap it around a chain link a little bit, and then secure it back on to myself.
All right, who goes next?
I'll go next. My strength score is only a 9 though, so
Ooh. All right, that'll
Oh.
be a dexterity check.
There's
from
the rope
Jacob.
to
Yes.
help you across.
With advantage. Oh, sorry, not Jacob. Eolian, you can make a acrobatics or athletics roll with advantage to try to get across.
Guidance.
yeah, that's an 8.
Even with guidance.
Oh,
With
let
a
me roll
D4?
with a D4. That will be that'll be 12.
That is enough. As Jacob is able to catch you and swing you up onto the chain link again. Who goes next?
I will.
All right,
And
roll
it's-
that. Oh, sorry. What's your strength score?
My strength score is an 11.
All right, that is sufficient to be able to make it all the
Okay.
way across.
Awesome. So, yeah, she does so, and she brings a second rope across so that there's 2 ropes for people to hang on to.
Right. It is then Lady Yael. She will go ahead and try to leap. And she is able to do so. Jump. She grabs onto the side. She didn't even need your help, Jacob, nor Aeolian, nor Hefzibah. She swings around again with a strange sense of athleticism that almost is strange on her, but again, very fitting. Ava is behind you, Eric. She says, I don't think I can go any further. The sting of that rust on the wind, it drives me mad.
Stay.
It weighs heavy on me, the air here. I would be a monster out there. I have to stay here.
There are storerooms down here in the mazes. Lots of tunnels. You can stay hidden.
You wish for me to hide in the tunnels? No, that's a great idea. No. Hiding in the tunnels. The survivors, the refugees. No matter how much the devils scour the surface of the city, we'll be hidden away. I'll bring news of this to High Knight Ravengard.
Be careful.
I'll be careful. I know you're my younger brother. But even then, you try to seek to protect me. Don't you know? I'm a full 7 years older than you. I don't need protection. What you need to focus on is protecting her instead, and the rest of all of them. I will be fine.
I know you will. I will come back.
You better. You damn well better. And that's a promise. If you don't come back, I will hunt you down and I will drag you back.
I believe you. Go.
She pauses to go run away, and then she stops, turns around, and gives you a big hug, pulling you in, almost enough of a force to like topple you off of the edge of the of this tunnel cliff, but stopping a bit short. This is the last hug you'll ever get from your sister for a long time, you imagine.
As we pull out of the embrace, I turn so I don't have to watch her leave, and almost looking like I'm just stepping off into the air, I make the jump over across with a 16 strength. I shouldn't have any problem leaping across these chains. Do I need to roll anything?
No. The last thing you hear from her as she continues back up the tunnels is, go save the city. Be our hero. And then she vanishes into the darkness. Zoe, it is only you now here.
Zoe watches everyone go by, and she tries to like close herself off as Eric, and as she knows it, his friend have their moment. And she watches as he jumps across, and she takes a breath and she's like, my turn. I have 15 as a strength score. So
Plus your mirthful leaps ability lets you add a D8 or
Yep.
something. You're like,
yeah, it
"Whee!"
lets me add a D8. So I'm just like,
Mhm.
wee, let's go.
Yeah, you're able to easily clear the gap. However, as you're about to leap off, the ground below you lurches from this chain of seismic activity. You would lose your balance just for a moment, but thankfully you've such enough of a distance with your jump plus your mirthful leap, able to make it. Though a bit of a tense moment as you make it on top of this chain. And I think as the six of you have collected yourself onto this chain, trying to figure out how best to descend and trying to figure out that plan, let's go ahead and wrap up the session from your perspective, at least. We look to the distance with a great head, the front of that storm cloud is, with the charge of all the devils in the distance, the reinforcements that have come to claim El Terrell. We zoom in up to the face of that angel at its head. That's the face of the angel in your visions. That is Zariel, but instead of eyes, she has great burning orbs of fire. No halo upon her head, instead just wreaths of flame. Her wings black and fiery. She's missing her right arm, and instead in its place is a great chained mace weapon grafted to where her wrist would be. And at her other arm, she wields a massive hammer, a war hammer, an artifact of some demonic make. She twists and turns her head, seeing something with her uncanny senses, something small dangling from one of the chains below the city of El Terrell. There she is, Yael. She barks a command, and the host of legions turns direction ever so slightly, aimed not for the city of El Terrell, but for where you would descend upon the ground. Zariel is after you. But do you know this yet? Time will tell. And that is wrapping up the final part of our campaign premiere of Descent into Avernus, as our characters descend down into the wasteland of Avernus on the road of hell to claim the Sword of Zariel. As Jake had said, you can catch us again for our third session, our next session in 2 weeks' time. No, on October 4th, which is in 2 weeks' time. Both those statements are accurate. Same time, same place in 2 weeks, October 4th, where the adventure truly begins. At the end of this session, our characters here will level up, and in typical mini terrain domain fashion, we'll be rolling our hit points here live for all of you to watch and witness and gruel over. When you roll your hit points here, you get to add your con mod as normal to that, and add that to your max hit points. And whatever the total is that you added to your max hit points, you add half of that to your current hit points. So you can go ahead and round the table here and roll your level ups as you level up to level 3.
I got a 9 with a +3 con, so I got
12 hit
12.
points. 12 more max and 6 more current.
I rolled an 8 with a 3 modifier, so
So 11 and 5. Nice.
I rolled a 3 with the 2 modifier, so my total
5
goes
and
up by
2.
5 whole points. Woo!
Nice.
And up by 2 or 3. Do we round up or down?
Round down. Always round down.
Of course.
I was always round down.
I rolled an 8 with a 2 modifier.
10. Nice.
Mhm.
Now you can withstand the punishment of hell.
No.
I rolled a 7 with a plus. We're going by our actual modifier, not the added constitution bonus, right?
This is the modifier of con. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it'd be a +3, I think is what I have. 2, +2. So
9
9.
more hit points. It's 4 on
Nice.
top of your current. Yeah, the road of hell is paved with the passage of would-be heroes.
Is that everybody?
That is all 5 of you, yeah.
All right. Well, another awesome session. As Vi said, you can catch us in 2 weeks here. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you for the raids and the subs and the support with the soul coins here. If you are somebody who watches silently and lurks in the chat, thank you. We appreciate you all the same. We are going to send a raid over to for David Blue, who is playing some video games. David Blue's been on the channel before. You may know him from Stargate. But we're going to send a raid over there in just a moment. But thank you to our Dungeon Master, Vi, to Karen, Dwight, Nicole, Sarah, and Vi, without whom this would just be, I guess, and me. This is awkward because I'm used to being the one who says that. But this would just be Vi talking to herself for a couple hours. With that, we are going to go ahead and end this stream the same way we end every stream. And you can say it with me if you want. Midget descent into Avernus.